Welcome to Hockey on Tap Podcast. This is episode 106. I'm your host, Bill Dean, and I'm, of course, here with my three co-hosts, Little Steve, Schwim, and Shorts Guy. We're brought to you by Primetime Radio, courtesy of Sam Wu. I am producing, and you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Please leave us a 5-star review if you would be so kind. Boys, what are we drinking?
Well done, Billy Dean. You got it right this week.
Yeah, wow. Well, I didn't even slip up at all.
It won't,
Not once.
It only took, 106 episodes?
Yeah.
We got the math right this week, too.
Now I can't even get onto Facebook because some a-hole looks like they hacked my account, so that's fantastic.
Well, you were talking about questionable. You were talking about questionable things earlier.
Let's get off this topic now. Shorts Guy, what are you drinking?
I am drinking One Hen's pumpkin ale called Nummy Pumpkin. It's I've actually had 2 of the 4. It's actually pretty cool. The can art's really cool, and it's named after some local Native American lore down in Wildwood. So it's pretty cool.
Esteban?
I already forget.
You can read the can.
It's right the harvested.
It's in the brew.
Yeah, I had to take it out of the brewmate. The harvested by Abomination is a. Oh, geez. I don't know why I picked this. Sour ale with acai, plum, and mango.
Oh.
The Harvester is a rotating series of fruit-forward sours exploring how various fruit combinations play off each other in a sour ale. That sounds like a lot of words for. This beer has fruit in it.
Hey, at least there's no stinking lactose in it.
Yeah,
it's true.
Very true.
That's all that matters. Oh, okay. I did it. It's open.
Good job.
You did.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm continuing Saturday's tradition of Dogfish Pumpkin by having a Dogfish Pumpkin.
Nice.
Ooh.
I thought, why not?
Nice.
Let's keep it going.
Good job, Shrim. We're proud of you too.
Thank you, William.
By Brick City Brewing, Fruitastic Voyage, double fruit,
Guarantee there's lactose in it.
peach, orange, and mango.
It's a Dean sour.
Lactose.
There's always lactose.
Brewed with Fleur de Sel, conditioned on peach puree, orange puree, and mango puree. So, unless Fleur de Sel is lactose, which I have no idea, I don't know. It could be happening.
It's called Fruitastic Voyage.
You pronounce lactose wrong. You just called it something else.
Is that a play off the Coolio song? Fantastic
I was gonna
Voyage?
Say, well, what's the other one?
May he rest in peace.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to what's on tap for today's episode. Is there a stronger division in hockey with Atlantic in the Eastern Conference? Obviously, East is Beast being our title. Do you guys really think that the East is that much better than the Western Conference, other than Colorado? Because obviously, top heavy, they have the best team, but competition-wise.
Probably, although the East does also have some really pretty bad teams.
Pretty bad ones too, yeah. But I think competition-wise, the East has much more of the upper echelon teams, I would say, than the West.
Yeah, especially specifically as far as competitive goes, it has the most competitive division, and it's certainly more competitive division than the West, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of lends itself to the geography of the area too, because I mean the Metro has, the Devils, Rangers, Islanders, Flyers, Penguins, Capitals, all within 6 hours of each other.
Yep.
So there's that alone right there, that those rivalries, it could be anybody's game on any given night.
Yeah. Besides the Battle of Alberta, what does the West have?
I mean,
Colorado,
some people would say Vegas a long time ago. I mean,
Vegas?
2 years ago. Oh, you mean in terms of overall just fun?
In terms of rivalry,
The rivalry, not much.
Well,
So
the
Colorado, St. Louis.
amount of rivalries in the East
okay,
are
so-
crazy.
Colorado, St. Louis.
well,
That's a
and
rivalry?
When,
Yeah. It's gone pretty
until
far.
they moved Detroit to the East, Colorado Detroit was a big rivalry.
Yeah,
Well,
and now they're in
say
the East.
one of-
Yes,
one
we'll
of
take
the
that.
biggest.
Now they're in the East. Yeah, I would have to say that I would think Sharks Kings.
Sharks, Kings.
Are they though? Really?
How about
I think
Vancouver and
interstate-
Seattle?
When they were good.
Vancouver and
I don't know
Seattle
about now.
will be. Vancouver and
Will be.
Seattle will be if you give it a couple years, because the Vancouver Seattle rivalry in soccer is really good. So at some point, yes, you're going to get a Vancouver Seattle. That'll be one of the best rivalries in the West.
Yeah.
Once Seattle has its feet under it, and they actually become somewhat good.
But you were talking
But
about,
other than
Steve,
that, that's
the
about
lowest teams, right? So you have the Flyers are probably the worst team. Flyers and Canadians are really the two worst teams in the East, probably. I mean, Buffalo's
on
gotten
paper,
better.
yeah.
Yeah, Buffalo's gotten
Yeah.
better. Ottawa's gotten a lot better. Detroit's gotten better. Jersey is going to take a step forward. Columbus got better. Islanders.
what's
are
the matter?
worse,
You
but
can't
they're
say we
still not-
got better. You just can't say
I
it,
said
can
we got
you?
better. I said
No,
we
you
got
said we
better.
take a step
You said
forward.
take a
You said
step
everyone
forward.
else got better.
Step forward.
You
Well,
said
that's
we took a
better.
step forward.
Stepping
You-
forward is better. If I lose
you
5
just-
pounds,
you
it's
just-
still better. It's not better than 20
Listen,
pounds,
I get it.
but it's better.
I
a
get
step
it because
forward.
Yeah.
I can't
Step
compliment your
forward.
Rangers, but
But are Philly and the Canadians better than Arizona, Chicago, Seattle, and San Jose? I would
And
think
Anaheim,
so. Well, Anaheim still
probably. Yeah,
has some good young talent.
yeah, they got some good young talent, but they're going to be bad.
mhm.
But I would say the East is
Yeah.
still, even with the worst teams, they're better than the worst teams in the West. Anyway, so
Yeah, well,
I-
the thing I think
I'd
is
be-
like with the East teams are getting better, and the West seems to be getting
West
worse.
seems to either it's getting worse
Except
or
for
staying the
Philly.
same, not improving.
I think Philly has gotten significantly worse. Montreal's kind of the same, but if
All
not
right,
a little
before we
better
get
with
to the-
drafting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get to the previews, a couple little notes. Couturier dodged surgery. It still sounds like he's going to be out for quite a bit, but he's going to be out on the shelf for a little while. The Canadians signed Jake Allen to a 2-year extension, so he'll be there for their worst seasons and then gone after that, so good for him. The NHL, Schwim was talking about it. They're going to debut virtual ads on the arena rink boards. I guess they're going to – I wonder how they're going to do, if it's like 3D or some weird – it could be bad. And then the worst news for the Senators, Cam Talbot, upper body is likely to miss 5 to 7 weeks. So it's a big hit. They're starting goaltender, obviously. And we'll get into them in a little bit with our previews. But, Philip Gustafsson, was sorry, not Philip Gustafsson. Senators claimed Magnus Hellberg on waivers to join Anton Forsberg, their starter last season, as the tandem to start. It's going to be tough sledding for them, but they're a team that's absolutely on the rise. So I guess we'll get right into it, and we'll do the Atlantic Division, which I think is Atlantic stronger than the Atlantic. Is Atlantic stronger than the Metro? Are they the best division? Not.
They got 3 powerhouses. I don't know if the
They got
Metro
3 top
has
division teams.
a single. Metro doesn't have a single powerhouse, but they have pretty complete teams.
But I would say, obviously, you have the 3 big ones, right? You got Tampa, you have Florida, and then you have Boston.
Toronto.
Toronto, another one. And then can you say that?
Oh, I wasn't even considering Boston. I was considering Toronto the whole time.
But I think, Toronto, but I think Boston's within that. They're right around there if they have their guys back and healthy.
Boston belongs. I would say Boston more belongs in the Metro. They're more of a team like that.
Okay.
I never
And what about the
understood-
Ottawa
I
Senators?
never
No, what about them?
there you
Getting
TBD.
better? Okay.
Yeah, we still got to
TBD.
see. They look better, yeah, but to be determined. We don't know how they're. This could all be. It could still be a disaster. They definitely got. I mean, the pieces are great, but it still may
They're
not
one of the
work.
teams that should be on the verge of getting better, if definitely improving on last season. But we got to wait and see. Now they lose Talbot for the first month and a half or whatever of the season.
Yeah,
they
that
gotta
could be
find
big.
they gotta
That's
find
a
a way
big
through
blow.
that. That's huge.
All right, so let's talk about the worst team in the division, the Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, they're a team that's in flux. They've, acquired some youth in, Kirby Doc and, but then they've also got some veterans. They brought in Sean Manahan, Evgeny Dodonov, Mike Matheson from the Pit, the Penguins, Mitchell Stevens. Obviously, they got rid of Shea Weber's contract. They got rid of Jeff
Who's
Petrie.
Sean Manahan?
Monahan? Did I just say
Oh.
Monahan? Alexander Romanov went to the Islanders as their only acquisition. Cedric Baguette, Schwimm's former love, and then Matthew Perreault
You love
also
him.
joins the subtractions. Good news. I guess Nick Suzuki being the captain's good news, because what else is there? Yeah, maybe Marty St. Louis brings a little more, juice to this franchise.
I was just gonna say, Schwimm's boy,
Little Marty.
full-time coach now.
Yeah.
Good for him.
What did you guys think of Nick Suzuki as the captain?
A little
I
surprising, I guess.
think I have.
was-
I don't really have
I
much
don't care.
opinion on it.
I really
Yeah.
didn't care. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, good for him. Good young player. Why not?
Yeah. Now he's just got to prove why he got the captaincy.
Yeah.
Which,
So
He's got to prove
and
it
they
now.
immediately wanted him to learn French, so that was funny.
And he said no.
Slavkovsky is a good draft pick.
oh yeah,
Good draft pick this
Yeah.
year.
that guy's
absolutely.
a unit.
He is. I mean, their top line, you have Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Mike Hoffman for the time being. They still got Schwimm's other boy, Jonathan Drouin, with Monahan and Josh Anderson. You got Christian Dvorak, who's a decent third-line center. Gallagher's still there. Talked about Dodonov, Jake Evans, who, they seem to like. I don't know how good he really is. Kirby Doc. Defense, you have David Savard, Matheson, Chris Weidman. Their defense sucks. And then their goalies. We talked about Jake Allen and Sam Montembeau. So this is the worst
They're not
team
great.
in this division.
They're not
right?
going to be good.
Hands down.
No, they're not.
Yeah, I don't even think it's close.
The new home of Aaron Bedard. Or not Aaron Bedard.
Connor Bedard.
Connor Bedard.
Connor Bedard, thank you.
I so hope he goes. I so hope Connor Bedard goes to Arizona, but we'll talk about that another
No
time.
way the league is going to let that happen.
No.
If they were which is funny because if Bettman was smart, he'd put him there so that people watch. If you want to save a franchise, you give the worst franchise the best player, and watch them grow. That would be the most
Yeah, but
ridiculous
he'll be
thing of
there.
all time.
I
Yeah, but
still don't.
you're
I don't even know if
you're
that'll
assuming-
help Arizona.
You're assuming the ownership is going to build anything around him. He'll be out of there as soon as his entry level is up.
Yeah, but at least you gave him a little juice, and then you could be like, really, your guys are done.
So we're just straight up insinuating the league has every say in who drafts first.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
to the Devils fans when they got Lafreniere, yeah.
I don't trust him.
Yes.
Okay.
And you got Lafreniere.
Well, I know. I said to the Devils fans when the Rangers got Lafreniere, you guys were immediately like, this is rigged.
No, you said when the Devils got Lafreniere.
No, I said to the Devils fans when the Rangers
No.
got whatever. That was my
Right.
point. Is that when,
You
when they got
You
him,
just ran down the street. You just ran down the street shirtless.
I did. It was fantastic. You've never seen anything better in your life. All the fans
know
of the
what?
show were absolutely happy.
And you know what
Would
I
you
want to
do-
see next year? I want to.
Would you do it again if
running up
Bedard goes
Dogfish
there?
Dash.
I'll do
With your
it.
shirt off?
I'll do
I
it in
can't
my
see
underwear
anything.
if Connor Bedard becomes a Ranger.
Connor Bedard's not becoming Ranger. Unless
that would be.
unless Gallant's 3 and out is accelerated to 2 and out with the Rangers this year.
It
I
has
mean,
happened before.
I'll gladly take that if it's Connor Bedard. I'm not joking. And I'm sure Schwimm would do this. Well, Schwimm wouldn't do it with John Cooper, but Shorts guy would do it with his coach. I think even Steve.
Oh yeah.
Steve, if it meant that Mike Sullivan was gone, would you, take the worst season of all time to get Connor Bedard?
Yeah, but Sullivan wouldn't be fired if they're the worst team in the league. He still wouldn't be fired, in my opinion.
No, but I'm saying this is the give and take. You have to fire your coach.
Okay.
Yes,
For Bedard, yes.
Yes.
Bedard,
Because you're already restarting the franchise right there.
Absolutely.
You would fire John Cooper
For Bedard?
That's a big one. I mean, you're talking about probably the best coach in the NHL.
Talking about one of the best prospects in a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so, you know, joining a team that's already pretty good, that'd be friggin' amazing.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's going out on a LTIR. Everyone's going out on LTIR.
We'll make it happen. Don't worry.
All right, Ottawa Senators, 7th in the Atlantic last year, missed the playoffs. They brought in Claude Giroux to DeBrincat and to trade Cam Talbot. They somehow traded Matt Murray's contract to Toronto. Also got rid of Connor Brown, Colin White, Victor Mete. They got rid of MDZ, a couple other guys. Good news is the Senators made some huge moves this offseason. It signals they want to contend. I don't know if they're going to contend, but they want to contend. Obviously, DeBrincat, Giroux to a 3-year deal. Talbot, who we talked about, is going to be out 5 to 7 weeks, but he's still a proven number one. Giroux's a good leader for that team to go with Brady Tkachuk, the captain. Stutzla's there and Josh Norris and Drake Batherson. And, you have two solid lines in Tkachuk, Norris, Batherson, DeBrincat, Stutzla, and Claude Giroux. You also got Tyler Mott, who's on a PTO, Shane Pinto, who's a third-line center, Matthew Joseph. On defense, it's probably where they're hurting a little bit. You got Thomas Chabot, who's awesome, and you got Eric Brandstrom, who's a young prospect. Hamannik's there. Artem Zub is very underrated, but you have Nick Holden, you have Nikita Zaitsev, and then, like I said, your goalies for the time being are Anton Forsberg, who was the number one last year. But you guys see this team as being a serious contender for a playoff spot this year?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they can get in as one like an 8th or a wild card team or so. Just those 3 signings, or the trade of the acquired DeBrincat was awesome. Signing Giroux for leadership, and he can still contribute. And before the injury, but getting the number one goalie in Talbot. That's 3 huge pieces that you're adding to an already pretty good young lineup. So I think they gotta just try to get through this goalie injury thing and then go from there. Not fall too far behind, like be horrible out of the gate once the season starts. Just try to get through that and then go from there. I think they can be a pretty decent team.
Shorts?
Yeah, they could be a good team. I don't know about a full-time contender for a playoff spot, but knocking on the door, I think they're definitely improved over last year on paper, at least. But they can definitely be in that conversation for a playoff team.
I think they're a more ready team. They're in the same bubble to me as the Devils. They're just a year quicker to the punch. I think they have the right pieces on offense. They need help on defense. They need help on goaltender, and I kind of feel that's the same way the Devils are. The Devils have a very good core of offense. They bring in someone like Palat, but they're still in that same thing where they need 1 or 2 more defensemen. They need a goaltender to step up or step in. We'll see if that's Talbot. We'll talk about Blackwood and all them in a little bit, but I feel like they're in that same kind of stratosphere. Steve is getting.
I think a big difference is, though, Ottawa was able to acquire players where the Devils seem to continue to struggle doing that. But
Andre Palat?
No, I mean, we're going to get
Yeah, but that's not enough.
Andre Palat is complimentary to a team that's already contending. I don't think he's going to. Yep. He'll be fine. But anyway, Ottawa, I think they can certainly make a playoff push, but we're going to get to 4 teams that are going to be tough to surpass in Florida, Tampa, Toronto, and Boston. So it's still they improved vastly, and their young talent is there, but those teams are still very good. So they still got to compete with that and try to make it. I don't know if they'll finish in the top 3, but I mean to finish above any of those 4 on top of the Metros big players, it's going to be hard for them still.
Yeah. Obviously, we're on Facebook Live. and a couple other sites. Let us know if you have any questions. These guys will call them out because I can't get into Facebook. But let us know if you have anything on any of these shitty teams as we get to the better ones. Detroit Red Wings.
If you want us to shit on your team, just tell us. We'll shit all over them.
Yes. Yeah. They get rid of Sam Gagne, Dana DeKaiser, Thomas Greiss, Mark Stahl. But they bring in, some pretty notable names. Andrew Kopp, a big deal. Ben Sherratt, they bring him in as a top 4 defenseman. Ole Mata, Ville Husso to be their starter, or at least to compete with a starter job. David Perron got a big contract. He's finally away from St. Louis and probably won't be back there at the trade deadline. And then bring in underrated Dominik Kubalik. Detroit finishes outside of the playoff picture. Steve Yzerman in the front office went to work this offseason. Injuries. They had some injuries, but behind the bench, new head coach Derek Lalonde, who spent 4 years winning back-to-back cups in Tampa as an assistant. Kopp gives offense a boost, and he'll slot most likely as a second-line center. You got some other guys with their top line being, Dylan Larkin, Tyler Bertuzzi. You have Raymond. They have Moritz Seider, who's just growing. Obviously, Calder-winning rookie. Simon Edvinsson is going to come in. He's 6th overall pick last year. Is expected to contend at a training camp. Were the pieces enough for them to be a playoff team, or are they still middling? Just on the outside looking in.
I think they're in pretty much a identical situation that Ottawa is.
I'd rather have Ottawa.
Maybe Ottawa has has the leg up on talent, but as far as construct of a team, I think they're pretty similar, and they're following pretty similar paths. So maybe they'll probably still struggle a little bit, but they're improved. They have improved since last year, just like Ottawa has. So it'll be interesting to see those two.
Shrimp?
Yeah, they.
Go ahead, Shorts guy. Sorry, go ahead, Shorts.
I was just gonna say they've improved, and I think it would be a race between them and Ottawa to see who would potentially outduel the other for any kind of wild card spot.
I think both of them can now compete with. I mean, they're still on the outside, but I think they can both compete with Boston. Like, I think Ottawa can give it to Boston. So could Detroit. Maybe steal some games from them, but as far as the top 3 trying to beat out Toronto, Tampa, Florida, that's going to be tough for them. So they're another team that's looking, if they're going to make the playoffs, it's going to be a wild card spot, which that's going to be, the East is tough. The East is really, really tough. So,
yeah,
I mean, but, oh, wow. Sorry, I'm watching the game also on NHL Network.
Who's winning?
Yeah, Ottawa and Detroit. Pittsburgh's up 1-0 on Detroit in the second period, just started. Ottawa and Detroit, very similar, very good young players. Both went after goalies in the offseason. Brought in a lot of veteran people like Perron and who else did Detroit bring in? What was the other veteran they brought in there besides Perron?
Kopp, Andrew Kopp.
Okay, yeah. Good.
And Kubalik, like I said, Ben Sherratt, Ole Mata.
Yeah, okay. So not too bad, but again, it's going to be difficult for these teams. They're still like kind of, I don't want to say like a work in progress, but still they got a little bit of a ways to go. Still very good teams. Like, it's like promising, I think, for both of them, but they still got a little bit of a ways to go.
Yeah. Should you say anything?
I mean, just what I said before. I think that they're improving, and it's they've got to battle against some really strong teams.
Oh yeah.
Then it's going to be between them and Ottawa.
The team that finished 5th in division, Buffalo Sabres, they missed the playoffs, but I think they're actually probably the second worst team in this division now that Ottawa and Detroit have kind of taken steps ahead. They had Eric Comrie, Riley Sheehan, not really too much. They got rid of Tokarski, he's actually in Pittsburgh. Drake Kajula, Colin Miller, Will Butcher, former Devil. Good news, it's young, right? And they have some high-end players coming up, also just pretty much cracking the surface. Tage Thompson last year, 38 goals, 68 points. Casey Middlestat took a step ahead as the second line center. Alex Tuck looked really good in coming over after the injury from Vegas. Obviously, Peyton Krebs is there, very high-end prospect. Dylan Cousins, John Jason Paterka, who I know JJ is a big fan of. Another short guy like himself. He's explosive and very talented with the puck.
I don't know why that was needed.
Rasmus
Whenever there's an
Dahlin.
opportunity to say JJ short, we got to take it, I guess.
Exactly. Rasmus Dahlin, who's he's grown into one of the top defensemen in the league. He had 53 points last year on a really bad team. Owen Power, former number 1 overall pick, it looks like he's going to start from the get-go. They got Henry Yokar. I always mess up his name.
Jokiharju.
It's a soft J.
Yeah, Jokiharju. I always mess that one up. And back in net for the 800th season, Craig Anderson. This guy just does not go away.
He really does. He's just not go away.
He's got to be old. Is he older than Mike Smith? They're both 42, 41?
I know he's in his 40s. I don't know exactly how old is.
41. 40 young Craig Anderson. He looks
good for him.
50.
Wait, why are you calling 40 old?
Well, I'm younger than 40, so.
Most of this panel isn't.
Yeah.
And we take offense to it.
You old
so you
bastards.
call JJ? You calling JJ
short and you guys old.
Yep, calling us old. All right. We could say something, but we're not going to because we're better than that.
I'm fat, I know.
I didn't say that.
Don Granato's here as head coach. Took over in June. He got a lot out of the team. The Sabres didn't make any splashes in the offseason, so short of all the prospects developing ahead of schedule, it's shaping up to be another season with most likely more losses than wins. You guys are on the same, boat, right? This is the second best team or second worst team in the division. They can't compete with Detroit or Ottawa, right?
No, I don't think they're that far off, though. I think they've got good young people too that could take another step, like Thompson and Cousins and all them. Again, the goaltending is still an issue there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Craig Anderson and everything, but he can't be your bona fide number 1 starting goalie every night. No offense.
If Ben
Bush he's a good goalie still.
Available.
He could be a really good backup, but I don't know. They got to eventually get that solved, and then
he's gonna be a split time.
Out. Who's their other goalie?
Luukkonen.
Right
I'm sure they're gonna.
Oh, Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah, and I think they Malcolm Subban's there somewhere. But Luukkonen is the guy that they're hoping pans out to be a starter, and
maybe he'll take over
have split time.
Well,
and it doesn't matter. You can have Craig Anderson there because they're not. I mean, they know that they're not competing for a playoff spot. They're still building. So, I mean, hopefully Luukkonen can continue to develop. Yeah, I mean,
Levi?
I'm not buying that Levi is going to be a number 1. I just don't see it. I know he was a decent prospect and he did well with Team Canada, but I don't know. I don't see it.
Right now, if you're a goalie and you go to Buffalo, it's not really. I don't think it's accelerating your career.
It would mine. It would accelerate mine big time.
E-bugging on any team would accelerate your career.
They still have Matthew Savoie in the minors. They have a bunch of good prospects, so they're up and coming, and it's going to be exciting as a Buffalo fan. I think in the next 4 years. All right, the top 4: Boston Bruins, 51-26-5, 4th in the division, lost to Carolina in the first round of the playoffs. Bring in Pavel Zacha in a trade. David Krejci comes back. So does Patrice Bergeron. They get rid of Eric Haula, who went to the Devils. In the offseason, the Bruins, re-signed Patrice Bergeron, one of the best two-way centers in the game still, even at age 37 after his mulling retirement. The return is huge. Obviously, that means they could continue to try to push for the playoffs and to be a cup contender, which I don't think they are, but they assume they are. Krejci comes back after being in the Czech Republic for last season. The core is still intact. Pasternak, Brad Marchand, Taylor Hall up front. They have one of the better defenders in the game in Charlie McAvoy. Solid 1-2 punch in net with Linus Olmark and Jeremy Swayman. they're set for a rough start because of the guys they're going to be without. Marchand had both his hips operated on. McAvoy has shoulder surgery. Grzelcyk, starts on the shelf after offseason shoulder surgery as well. All these guys are not expected to be back until November or December. I know you guys mentioned
that's
that
why
this
I'm
could
worried
be the
about
team.
Boston.
Yeah,
I'm worried about them.
You definitely think that this is the team out of the top 4 that could take the step back.
Even with say all those guys were healthy, I don't know why. Just like my gut feels like they're not going to be as good. Like they're going to start. This is like the beginning of the decline for them.
How long have we been saying that though? How long have we been saying that, and they just don't?
They don't. Yeah. But I don't know.
I think with the injuries they have to start the season, they could get themselves in such a hole that they may not be able to come back out of.
They could.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge obstacle, but I mean, it seems like Boston has.
We always count them out, and then
they're always lacking depth. They're always lacking depth, but they always seem to have somebody else who comes and and steps in and does fine. So I think they're still gonna be one of these. They're gonna be top 4, right? They're not sneaking into the top 3 unless somebody up there takes a major collapse off a cliff, which I can't imagine.
Yep, Toronto could.
They could, yeah.
Toronto's like a ticking time bomb. They're just like
Toronto has, but Toronto. I see Toronto as being. But... I think worst case scenario with Toronto this season is they end up like in Edmonton, where they have all this skill up front, and then their goaltending and back end just lets them down because now they have huge question marks there. But they'll still be there. I don't see them dropping out of the top 3.
They'll still be there.
But I don't know. I think Boston is still going to be there. They're still going to be at the 4 spot. I don't think any of those other teams are going to pass them, even with the injuries.
Steve, you talked about depth. Patrice Bergeron's their number 1 center. Fine. They have David Pastrnak skating with him, great, and Jake DeBrusk. Their second line is David Krejci, Pavel Zacha, and AJ Greer. That's their second line. Their third line, Charlie Coyle, Trent Frederick, and Craig Smith.
I don't care for it. See, I don't care for all this.
It's bad.
No, I mean, and when they try to acquire depth, like everybody loved that Craig Smith signing, and he turned out to be not a whole lot of anything. And when they're healthy, their depth fails them all the time. But they're just too solid. I think that they might have problems scoring goals. I think they're gonna have some difficulty there. But I also think that they're completely capable of winning games like 2-1, maybe 3-1 with an empty netter routinely. So. I don't know. I think losing Cassidy hurts a lot.
Well, yeah. Well, Jim Montgomery's a pretty decent coach. He comes in and fills them in.
Just gotta stay away from.
But he's also Montgomery is also a very different style. So I'm interested to see. It's a style that I don't think we've seen in Boston ever that I can remember. Right? Yeah. They've always been heavy defensive minded forwards, defensive minded, everybody defensive minded, and I don't know. It'll be interesting, but I don't know. I'm just not buying it. Every time you think they're going to be not as good, they're just as good, or just annoying enough to linger.
Good enough.
Yeah,
besides
in the playoff contention.
Besides the 2 goalies, you have Hampus Lindholm and Brandon Carlo back on the as the top pairing. Hampus Lindholm got that big contract, $6.5 million over 7 years last season. All right, Schwim, Tampa Bay Lightning. 51-23-8, third in the Atlantic, lost in the cup final to the Colorado Avalanche. They bring in Vlad Nemestikov, former Ranger, great. Ian Cole, Hayden Fleury, Felipe Myers. Off-season subtractions, Andre Palat, Ryan McDonough, Riley Nash, Jan Ruda. The good news, the team came a couple wins shy of their 3rd straight Stanley Cup. They did, and they did lose a couple of veteran players. The core is pretty much intact. Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, Hedman, Vasilevsky. They're still very much built to win. They don't really need any extra motivation to get back after a 6-game loss earlier this year to Colorado. Salary cap, bad news. Lightning had to trade McDonough. They couldn't re-sign Palat. Both were longtime members of the team. And even de facto leaders. The loss of McDonough and Palat just meant you could spend $8 million per year on Mikhail Sergachev. And as
Cirelli
well as
and Chernak.
Anthony Cirelli and Zach Bogosian on the back end.
It was Chernak who got the contract, not Bogosian.
Chernak, yeah. Well, Bogosian's still back.
Yeah, fortunately, yes.
Schwim, have your signing board. What do you think about this team?
I don't know. I guess I'm optimistic. That I know it's optimistic with a question mark. I don't know. I'm a little worried. Optimistically pessimistic. Does that make any sense?
Just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait for that first loss.
Pessimistically optimistic.
I can't wait for opening night against the Rangers. We're all going to see.
We're going to smoke you.
We're going to see how angry I can get in either way. Even if they're winning, we're going to see how angry I'm going to get. But
we just do a
I don't know.
cam for that?
Tampa lately, especially like all they've been having is roster turnover every year, and they're still just as good every single year. So like I'm confident in that. I feel good about that. Their coaching staff is awesome. They added Jeff Blashill from Detroit. Him and John Cooper are like best friends throughout their lives, and so now they're coaching together. I think they're. I'm not worried that they're going to be bad, but isn't that adorable?
All right, so Schwim,
you have Steven coaching on a team together.
You have Vasi, you have Hedman,
Whatever
you have
happened.
Chernak.
Why not?
Has to take a step.
He's got to take a step up, big time. Sergey has to.
But I was looking at your line construction, and you can tell me if this is wrong or not. But
it's wrong. I'm going to just tell you right now, it's wrong.
You're top heavy. Let's put it this way. Your top line, give or take, right, is Point, Stamkos, Kucherov. But your second line, is it Nicholas Paul, Hagel, and Ross Colton? Like, you're not talking about – you used to have so much depth, and it's just been wilted away. And
Killorn's awful. I really hope he's not on the second line. Cirelli probably will be once he is healthy.
Yeah, when he comes back.
And comes back. Hagel hopefully can take a step forward from last year when he got traded. He really didn't.
I don't think he can take a step back, to be honest with you.
I hope he doesn't. It was pretty bad. If he could, I know, but all of them were with Chicago. None of them were with Tampa.
Or he had one empty net goal.
One or two, and it was an empty netter. Yeah. So like, if he can get back to scoring like he was with Chicago, that would be huge for them, especially being on that second line, be a second line scorer. Yeah, I don't know. I hate Killorn. I was hoping he would be gone in the offseason, but
4.4 million per year.
Yeah. Ugh, don't remind me.
Stammer was probably the most quiet.
He's got to step up.
Points.
Yeah, he had a
really good year.
A lot of people. He had a really good year, and like nobody was really talking about it. Coming off, he was finally healthy for a full season, for a full off season, and everything, and he produced. He had a great season, a great playoff run, and I don't know. Hopefully they can do that again. Point is hopefully healthy. I know he's been kind of slowly getting back into it, but he needs to get back to the way he was. They need to. Their D guys need to, I think, step up this year more so than the. I'm not really worried about the offense. I'm worried the D. I think needs to improve a little bit more this year.
Shorts, Esteban, you guys got anything on Schwim's?
I see.
Loves?
I see a Fanny.
I'm trying to just see the damn screen at this point. Tampa will still be. They'll still be. I think Tampa's. They can still win the division. I think, even with the subtractions, I think it's still very possible. And I don't know. I think what did them in last year because Colorado was so good, but I think the difference was Tampa didn't have that third line. And you look at so many of these Stanley Cup winners, and it's like the third line is always the X factor, or so often is the X factor, and it was for Tampa in both of their cup runs. So not having that, unless like you said, Schwim, some of these guys can really kind of come into their own.
0 playoff goals, 0.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
What does that tell you?
Hagel, Nick Paul. If Hagel, Nick Paul can take off, then you're gonna be all right.
Yep. They need to. Yep.
All right. We're gonna do the next two teams kind of together, just because we're running a little short on time. But Toronto Maple Leafs, 54-21, second in the Atlantic, lost in the first round to Tampa Bay Lightning. They bring in Matt Murray as their starting goaltender, Ilya Samsonov. They got rid of both their starters from last year. Nicholas Aube-Kubel from the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche, Kelly Youngkruk, Jordy Ben. They get rid of Campbell, like I said. Adios, Ilya Mikheyev. Andre Kash is gone. Colin Blackwell, see you later. Team stacked with talent, led by last year's Hart Trophy winner Austin Matthews, who had 60 goals. The guy is absolutely ridiculous. They have, some of the better talent along, aside from him with Mitch Marner and William Nylander, and even Tavares is still uber talented. Blue liner Morgan Riley is also a very good number one defenseman. Their depth they continually try to fill those spots. They bring in Jan Krok, Aube-Kubel for that third line. Their fourth line still has guys like Wayne Simmons, Nick Abruzzese. Defense, TJ Brody, Jake Muzzin, who always continually gets hurt, Rasmus Sandin, Mark Giordano's back for another round.
At a major discount. That's probably the smartest thing and best thing that they did in this offseason.
Kyle Dubas is putting his stamp on this team, saying that he'll wait till the end of the season
He's
to
gone.
see if it pays off and get his contract.
He's gone after this year. There's no way.
Yeah. Leafs won more than they ever have. Nobody scored more than Matthews 60, but they still couldn't get out of the first round of the playoffs. I know it was a tough round, tough playoff against Tampa. But the big question's in net. Apparently, they know more about Matt Murray than anybody else knows, and they think that he's going to be, rejuvenated. Samsonov
they had a dream about Matt Murray, and they're like, let's sign him.
Yeah, and like I said, Washington didn't even want Samsonov, and they had goalie issues, and Tampa, and Montreal thinks that they can come in and make them better. They can Band-Aid the goaltending all they want because they have enough scoring to win in the regular season, but come playoff time,
come playoffs, that does not work.
I cannot trust Matt Murray. I know he won 2 cups, but I can't do it.
No, he's not. I mean, he's not a playoff performer. I mean, the end years there with Pittsburgh. I mean, he was not. I wouldn't necessarily blame him for the losses, but he certainly didn't help the situation at any point. And he hasn't showed us even a moment of his last however many years with Ottawa that he was on the verge of rebounding to what we thought he was going to be at any point, and it just never looked like it. But I don't know. There's still. I don't think Toronto knows what a third and fourth line are. Because it seems like every offseason they just unload a whole bunch of third and fourth liners and then bring a whole bunch of random third and fourth liners again. And they just construct it out of the most obscure players. It's strange to me that they continuously go through this. And it's with them, and we talk about Edmonton also. They have the same problems year after year, and yet just insist on never addressing it.
Yeah.
Or just like bringing in things that they think will, but it's just it doesn't. They don't do like any scouting or anything. They're just like, oh, well, this guy's a free agent. I saw him play a third line on whatever team he was just on, so let's give it a try.
And they can afford him.
Yeah.
Plus, for them, it's affordability because they're so cap strapped. They're just screwed. They are the definition of insanity. They keep doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result, and it's always the same result.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my question to all three of you: which player gets dealt first from this team? Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander.
Nylander.
Well, yeah, Nylander would be.
Yeah, I'd say Nylander.
I think the obvious choice, but you never know, I guess.
I think it's going to be Marner, and
I think Marner.
I don't know what they're going to get back that will replace a top 10 player in the league. But all right, Florida Panthers. They
save.
Everyone thought at the time that they'd kind of won the offseason, especially with the Matthew Tkachuk trade, Nick Cousins, Chris Tierney. They traded off Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar in that deal.
Friend of the show.
Claude Giroux had left after they gave a ransom for him. Joe Thornton. and I said won, lost the offseason, by the way. Ben Sherratt, Mason Marchment, a ton of guys leave. They won the President's Trophies last year. Stacked division. Paul Maurice is the new coach. They get the grit and Kachuk that they think they need to beat Toronto, or sorry, to beat Tampa. The moves look pretty good, but their depth, I know they have two really good top lines, Lindell, Barkov, Verhaeghe, Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett, Matthew Kachuk. But their defense has gotten real bad. Aaron Ekblad's still there, but they had Mark Stahl come in to replace Mackenzie Weegar. Ben Sherratt's gone, and they replace him with Radko Gudas. Their top four is god awful. They give a brand new contract to Spencer Knight, who now, we said about this, the goalies between Bobrovsky and Knight make $14.5 million per year. Oof. I think this team takes a step back. I think they're the third best team in the division. I think they're behind Tampa and Toronto.
Yeah, well, they just lost all the rental players, right, for nothing. So that's not ideal, because they went all in and got nothing in return. And I feel like I still, and even specifically based on how they performed in the playoffs, I do feel like last year was a fluke. I don't think they were that good. I think they were exciting. They certainly had some great talent and scored a lot of goals, but how many times did we see him? I don't mean to bring it up, but was it the Devils that came back? They were down like 5 or something in the third period or something like that. Yeah, and they had a couple of them, and that's. I mean, yeah, it's great, it's cool, it's nice to see because, well, as not as a Devil fan, but maybe even not as a Panthers fan, but as a hockey fan to see something like that, like that's exciting, right? That's cool to see, but that's not a recipe for winning, and that was basically the last tail end of the season there, and. Like I said, with this Matthew Kachuk trade, I think Matthew Kachuk is a unicorn. I don't think there's any player in the league like him. Okay. And I'm not going to say he's the most talented player in the league, but the mixture of talent, grit, size, and physicality, you just don't see it anywhere else. And that is ridiculous. A phenomenal acquisition, but they paid a big price for it. And like you said, their defense is certainly not better, and that was something that they absolutely had to get better at. Their goaltending is the same. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but their goaltending is not winning them many games. I don't know. I think they definitely. I think they're going to come down to earth a little bit. They still have the capability to score goals, but I mean, I think the reality is going to kick in this season, and they're not going to be. I don't think they're going to be close to what they were last year, but I think they'll still be able to beat tops based on some of the other weaker teams in the league, but are in their division. But yeah, I'm not sold on them at all as being a legit like cup contender. I'm not buying it.
Yep. Yeah, there were way too many times that they did to other teams what they did to the Devils, where they went down big and they just happened to be able to come back because their offensive firepower. That's not a recipe for constant success. So this may be the season that really kind of that bites them in the ass. So we'll have to see what at the beginning of the season happens for them.
Schwim, does Kachuk scare you after his comments saying that he hates Tampa? Damn it.
He hates Tampa? No. I'm kind of worried that losing Huberdeau that might really, because that guy was like ingrained in that team, him and Barkov together. And now I'm not saying like what's his face, Kachuk won't have like an immediate impact, but as good as he is, he's new to that team, he's new to that system. It might not gel right away. You never know.
Yeah, talent and age.
Talent, he's unbelievable. His age, his abilities are off the charts, but you never know. That might not translate right away.
I want to see him in Barkov.
For my team's sake, I hope they're worse, but I think they'll be okay. But I don't know. I'm not worried about Kachuk. That'll be good. Bring the in-state rivalry kind of get that going again if he makes it that way. There, I think that'll be good.
All right,
and him and Pat Maroon can yell at each other.
Yeah, I mean, you'll take that swap any time of the week. All right, Metro Division. Philadelphia Flyers. They let Oscar Lindblom, the only good part about their team, go. They add Tony D'Angelo and bring in John Tortorella.
Questionable. Oh, didn't they sign Delorier to a big contract?
I don't really care. I don't really care because they basically got rid of the only good part. And Keith Yandel, same thing. Keith Yandel, also another good part that they had. They let both of them go and they bring in trash, and this is their roster. Chuck Fletcher thinks that this team is going to rebound and beat the playoffs.
Yep. I think we know he's trying to acquire a first overall pick.
Yeah, Foo Philly.
That's what he wants. Yeah,
that's what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna go through the bad team, well, the non three guys on this podcast teams, and then we'll finish off with them last. Third in the division was Columbus Blue. Sixth in the Metro was the Columbus Blue Jackets. They bring in Johnny Hockey, Erica Branson. They trade off Bjorkstrand. The good news, I mean, great news, is Columbus was able to sign Johnny Gaudreau from the Devils and Philly. Line A is going to walk to free agency, but most likely, he was going to walk to free agency. He signed a 4-year contract. He's going to be the goal scorer on Johnny Hockey's line. They missed the playoffs by 19 points, but, they have some talent coming up. Cole Sillinger, Kent Johnson. Can this be a surprise playoff team?
No.
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 A little more optimism.
I think I'm a little bit more optimistic on them than just saying no. They're going to be friggin' horrible.
I mean, their number one center is Boone Jenner.
I don't know. Horrible.
I don't think they'll be horrible by any means, but I don't think they'll be a top team in the division or anything.
They have a kid line. It's going to be Cole Sillinger, Kent Johnson, and Kirill Marichenko, that's going to be exciting to watch. But yeah, I don't think they're going to make
the two I know of are good.
Well, they also have Igor Chinikov, I think it is Chinikov. He was the number one pick a couple of years ago when the Devils took Mukhamadullin.
He scored a killer goal the other day.
Oh yeah, Adam Boquist, Zach Werenski. Jake Bean, and they have a pretty decent tandem in Merzlikins and Korpisalo, so we'll see how they do this year. But I agree with you guys. I think they're just on the edge of the playoffs. The New York Islanders, a team that I think is going to be one of the worst in the league. Not worst in the league, worst in the division.
Let's just move on.
They bring in Alex Romanov and let Chara and Green retire. That's it.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my question to you guys.
More of the same.
Does Barzal re-sign with the Islanders? Or do you think he's going to leave?
No, he's going to pull it to Tavares.
Oh, so he's
going to say, he's going to say the same thing. Oh, I want to sign here. That's my first priority. Blah, 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 and then he's going to go sign with somewhere else.
Trade him. Yep.
All right. You would bring such negativity into my life if that happened. I'd be dealing with that aftermath. It would be a multi-month period of mourning if that happened.
Yeah, that would be bad. All right, Washington Capitals. They came in fourth in the Metro, lost to the Panthers in round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Dylan Strome as a third-line center, going to be second-line center until Nick Backstrom comes back. They bring in playoff champion Darcy Kemper. Charlie Lindgren also comes in from St. Louis. Goodbye to Vanacek and Samsonov. Their weakness obviously last year was in net. They get some help there, or at least they hope they get some help there. Alex Ovechkin figures to keep climbing the all-time goal-scoring charts with Gordie Howe's 21 goals away. They didn't get worse this offseason. Maybe marginally better. Backstrom's out to start the year. Tom Wilson's recovering from knee surgery. I hope he's out much longer than that. Is this still the number one contend? Like, is this still a team that can contend for the number one spot in the Metro?
I don't think so.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe because the Metro's not they don't have like a true top heavy team. You're always thinking the top three in the Atlantic. Well, you can count Florida, even though I said that they wouldn't. But Florida, Toronto, Tampa. I don't know that the East or the Metro has that. So yeah, I think it's possible, but I honestly I don't think Washington's focus it has anything to do with winning. I think that they 100% want to watch Ovechkin beat Gretzky's goal record, and that's it.
Yeah.
They're good enough to win games, and they're competitive enough to care a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. They're a weird team to me. I think, like you said, I think they're a little bit better. It's just I don't know. It's a strange situation there in Washington, watching them last year, and everybody just completely enamored with watching Ovechkin score goals, and not. It didn't look like in the playoffs. It didn't look like anyone cared, not in the slightest bit.
I feel like they're still in this Stanley Cup hangover. Like it's still there.
Maybe, but they won. They're satisfied with it, and now they're just here to have a good time, and they don't care what happens either way. Either way,
they got
invited
to the party, and they're just like happy to be there.
Yeah,
it's like, oh sweet, we're invited. Yeah. Nice. Like
they can win games based on the talent alone.
That's the life of Shorts guy. Just happy to be there.
I would never compare you to the Washington Capitals guy. I would never do that.
Yeah, we like you.
I think Washington is another one of those teams that's just always there and always annoying.
Yeah, they're kind of like Boston in that sense.
Yeah.
Damn, Pittsburgh pouring it on.
What's the score?
Sorry. 4-0 now. Oh, no, they just wiped it off. Never mind.
Carolina Hurricanes, 54-28, first in the Metro, lost to the Rangers in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. They bring in Andre Kasha, Paul Stastny, Max Pacioretty, Brent Burns, Nino Reeder's gone, Vincent Trocheck, Max Domi, Tony DeAngelo, Brendan Smith. The last 4 years they've kind of been growing, and then they win the division last year, but still couldn't break past the second round. They bring in Pacioretty, who's going to be out for a few months now, as well as Stastny, and then Brent Burns, I think, is a fantastic addition. They're one of the best in the league on defense. Freddie Anderson, can play up to his contract. It'll be interesting to see. Antti Ranta's still there as a backup. Is this a Stanley Cup contender to your mind?
I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired of hearing every year, this is Carolina's year. This is Carolina's year. They're making the next leap. They're making the next leap.
Is it?
Yeah, I think they can. Whether or not they will, based on previous evidence, it's turning into talking about Toronto being a serious contender, and everybody's kind of laughing because they can't get past the first round. But Carolina just figures out a way to lose, and they sure figure out a way to lose to the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers played well that series, but Carolina was completely non-existent. They had nothing at any point. They looked lifeless and just defeated right from the get-go. So I don't know, but their acquisitions were great. The Pacioretty thing is unfortunate because, at least they got him for nothing, right? But I love the Stastny signing, getting them for pennies, and I think one of the better depth centers that you can acquire. The Brent Burns thing is great. Freddie Anderson needs to be healthy. They're gonna be there again. They're gonna be. I think they'll probably win the division, but we'll see. I mean,
I'm trying to remember
injuries is not ideal for them.
Who they got along with Pacioretty in that trade, because they actually thought that kid could be eventually on their power play.
The defenseman.
I forgot his name. I'm trying to look for it, but I can't find
his name either.
Oh, anyways, you got Svechnikov, Aho, Seth Jarvis as your top line, Teravainen. The big thing for me is their number 2 center. They get rid of Trocheck because of the Rangers. They're filling it with Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who I don't think is that good of a player, and they're putting a lot of obviously signed that monster deal, $4.8 million for 6 or 7 years, but
he may not stay
that's
there.
Why they're bringing
I can't imagine he doesn't stay there. Yeah, Stastny can absolutely play a second line center role. Absolutely.
They were a bunch of Rangers fans were joking around that Chris Drury signed Vincent Trocheck just so that his nephew could make the team. Jack Drury, who's a top prospect for the Canes, but now he's talking about getting maybe a third to fourth line role. So they think that Drury did them a favor. Obviously, the defense, Slavin and Burns, is an awesome pairing. It's going to be so much fun to watch those two. Pesci, Brady Shea, Calvin DeHaan, Ethan Bear, still extremely good. So we'll see how it goes. All right, fun stuff.
Fantastic.
The New Jersey Devils, 7th in the Metro last year. They're bringing Andre Palat, Eric Holla, John Marino, Simon Nemec, and then obviously goaltender Vitek Vanacek. They ship out Pavel Zacha, PK Subban retires, Ty Smith goes to the Penguins. The good news is it's just going to get better from here. All the key roster building blocks in place. Some really good additions. Palat is a good one. On a contending team, he's a good player. Holla can give them some punch on the third line. Marino is solid defensively. Obviously, Nemec was the second overall pick. Solid. I didn't say great. Solid. Obviously, this to go along with Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and Igor Sharangovich. All of those three are, by the way, under 24 years old.
Yeah,
goaltending was a major issue.
Clutch.
We'll see how Blackwood does. Can Vitek Vanacek, be the goaltender of the future? Shorts guy, I know you've talked to your Devils faithful multiple times, but what's your take on the season?
So, I like the fact that we have what looks like we have depth for the first time in a long time, and a lot of these young guys we've talked about on the Let's Go Devils podcast for what feels like years are finally coming to fruition, or it looks hopefully coming to fruition. Just from what I've caught in the preseason, Vanacek almost looks like he's right now penciled in as the starter. Right now, as I'm looking at him, he's got 20 saves. It's 1-0 Devils, and I think it's the third period. I can't see the TV from here. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's third period. And he's been playing well. Jack is – I think the key thing for Jack this year is to make sure that he does not get hurt. Make it through full season, injury-free, and to finally see what he can do in a full 82-game season would be just beyond awesome. So I think that's a key thing. I know a lot of Devils fans are kind of freaking out because Hischier's out for, I think, 10 days. But we talked about it last night. It's rest it now. Rest it now in the preseason. Maybe miss, one or two of the first games. I don't really see it as a big deal. These are the games to miss because we know what he can do. So what that does with him being out for 10 games or 10 days, that's giving another player a spot to kind of prove their worth there. And we basically have 4 guys for 2 spots. And, that may need to, we may need to shift some people around. We're going to keep Zetterlund up. We're going to, send Mikey McLeod down. Can Johnson be sent down? We almost have a logjam of good young players, which is a good problem to have. So I think that the team is definitely trending upward. We're young. Yep. I think bringing Palat's going to be big as far as leadership. He knows how to win. He's won before. Schwim has seen it a couple times.
And he can do anything you want. He can play in the power play. He can do the penalty kill. He can do anything.
Which that's great to show the youth and the young kids just like how to stick on a team. Go play wherever you're told to play. Just go out there and play. I'm hoping Hamilton has a killer season this year. Now he's more used to the team. Maybe he'll be a little bit more comfortable. He's played pretty well in the preseason as well. If it's and I hate saying this, but if it's a 1-1A between Blackwood and Vanacek, that's fine. But to me it just seems like Vanacek is getting a little bit more of a look. But Blackwood did well. We talked about it last night. He had 17 saves in the first period against the Rangers the other day. It sounds very much like a Bone Storm game or a Toothless game.
True.
We're just getting
Speaking
barraged.
Of which,
tomorrow, the return of Bone Storm
first
and
game.
Toothless
return of Bone
plays
Storm.
at 10.
All right, Shorts. So 2 quick questions for you.
Go right ahead.
Is it a negative or is it a bad look if Holtz does not make the roster opening night? someone everyone's heard about for a little while now. He hasn't taken that step. Are you guys worried about him?
I mean, if they deem him not to have taken that step and he's not on the roster, then that's the bet he's made and not taking that step, and that's on him.
Okay. No, understood. And then my last question is Jesper Bratt. Is this something that it's going to sour as the season goes on, him not getting a big contract? And is that another Devils worry?
I mean, it's not a good look.
I think it's Bratt, right?
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, it's Bratt.
Yeah, sorry.
It's
Would you
not
say
a good
Bratt?
look.
Yeah. Bratwurst.
Well, it's October. It's still in the Oktoberfest type.
I'm thinking food here. Come on.
Well, yeah,
It's true.
I mean, but it's not like we haven't had players go to arbitration before. The process is there for a reason. But if it's also on him to show that maybe the Devils were wrong and should have paid him. And if that's the case, and the Devils and he does well, and the Devils can get him to resign long term and be able to pay him, that'll be huge. It's just we're waiting to see what Bernier is going to do as far as, is he going to be on the team? Is he going on long term IR? Who the hell knows? Because believe it or not, out of nowhere, we're near the ceiling with the cap out of nowhere when we were towards the bottom for a very long time. So I'm optimistic. I am optimistic for this season, and I'm excited, especially because I finally get to watch a full season of hockey, and I get to go to games more often than I've been in the last 18 years.
I absolutely agree with that one. All right, from a Rangers fan perspective, the Devils are
Nobody asked.
They're what? Nobody asked. Yeah, that's fine.
Nobody wants to know what a Rangers fan thinks about the Devils.
Listen, you guys have a lot of players that scare the heck out of me. Jack, Hughes is obviously ridiculous, and all the idiots that say that they would have rather had Capo Caco over him, they're just crazy. And I from the beginning that happened,
I can't believe that argument.
I know that Hughes was the better player,
exists.
and you can clearly see that he's taken leaps and bounds from what he did his rookie year, and I can only hope Alexis Lafreniere does that. So it's
just got to stay healthy.
The Devils have they have so much good young talent, and they're just getting better and better, and they're gonna be fun in 2 to 3 years. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I honestly think they can push for the playoff for a playoff spot this year.
I think they could. I think they could be like a surprise team out of the East.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a log jam down there. I think you're going to have the teams that are going to win the divisions or finish top 2, maybe 3. But as far as those last 2 wild card positions go for both the Metro and the Atlantic, it's going to be a log jam of teams. And if the Devils can stay healthy and somewhat consistent, have the goaltending issue not exactly solved, but at least improved, then I can see. I think Matt Junio was asking about dark horse. I think they can be a dark horse playoff push for sure.
And I want to answer. Craig Best asked earlier if Zaka was playing, and he is not. He is not in the lineup.
He's injured. I believe he's injured.
Yeah, that I don't know if he's injured or not, but I know he's not in the lineup tonight. So
yeah, I think he's hurt.
All right, Steve, Pittsburgh Penguins, 3rd in the Metro, lost the Rangers in round 1. Poling, Jeff Petrie, Ty Smith, Jan Rudolph come in, rebuilt defense. Evan Rodriguez, Mike Matheson out. Obviously, the core, Letang, Malkin, Rust all re-sign. Crosby's obviously still one of the best in the league. They haven't reached the second round of the playoffs since 2018. When healthy, they're formidable. At the age and health concerns with this team, that's the biggest question, really. Same thing, they bring in Jeff Petrie, and he's coming off a terrible season in Montreal at age 34. It's hard to envision the Penguins missing the playoffs.
Very good season after St. Louis joined.
True.
Very good.
Is this? I'm going to ask you as a Penguins fan. Is this still a cup contender?
Yes.
Even
because
with the goaltending,
they were.
Jarry.
Well, that remains to be seen in the playoffs because so 2 consecutive years they've been horribly let down by goaltending in the playoffs. Jari was a complete mess. What was great is that he turned it around and had a phenomenal season last season after having one of the worst playoff performances in goalie history. Which is impressive. And then, last year, the Rangers went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and Pittsburgh was, with the exception of, I think, one game and maybe a period, I think Pittsburgh was hands down the better team in that series and were, grossly let down by their AHL backup goalie and Louis Domingue, which is unfortunate. I mean, they've had a lot of bad luck with the injury bug has been unkind. Last year was horrible as far as injuries go. Can they stay healthy this year? And if they remain healthy, I don't think they take a step back because I think that, well, I don't know, maybe they've been somewhat overachieving. I think Sullivan again is a phenomenal coach and he gets the best out of whoever plays in his lineup. But their roster is still solid. They got to figure out this defensive thing. I did hear today that it seems that P.O. Joseph might be the guy who's on the trade block at this point. They have nine defensemen, not 7, not that extra 7th defenseman. They have 9 NHL defensemen on the roster who would need to clear waivers in order to get sent down.
That's crazy.
Which is not an ideal situation. If you had that, what was that, COVID backup team, whatever the heck that. If they could have that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
The prospect pool doesn't look great, so the depth there is not great. But I don't see. We'll see what we get from Evgeny Malkin in this season. But I don't see Letang or Crosby taking a step back. Those guys are just fitness machines, and they're a little older, but Letang just had the best season of his career last year, so they can. I certainly think that they have the capability of competing, and then come trade deadline time, there's a possibility for them improving the roster again. So they just kind of need to stay with it. They have a tough start to the season, where I think they have 13 straight away games or something. They have a couple home games and then 13 straight away games or something like that. So it's a pretty grueling start to the season. If they can stay healthy through it and get through that and, get the goaltending to back it up, Tristan Jarry comes back and has the season he had last season, I think they can certainly compete. No one's penciling them in to win, but I think they can certainly compete for it.
Good.
I think they're definitely a top 3 in that division. Them, the Rangers, and Carolina, to me, are the top 3 in that division. I think they could actually be. They might even be better than last year with the additions that they made. And I like Jeff Petrie.
I do too, a lot.
On the back end there, I like him a lot. I think that's a huge pickup.
It's a huge improvement over John Marino. It's a huge improvement over John Marino, and I liked Matheson, but I think Matheson probably peaked last season. I don't think you're going to see much more of that, but his skating, his mobility is fantastic. I don't think, unfortunately for him, I don't think he's going to be able to see a whole lot of success in Montreal because he doesn't have a lot backing him up, but all the best to him. But that Petrie acquisition, I think,
that was huge.
Was a big one. And I love and the Jan Ruda. I mean, they are notoriously weak in front of their net, especially on the penalty kill, and they improve that substantially with the additions of Ruda and Petrie.
Is Petrie their power play guy now? Is he their number 1?
No, in fact, I don't know. Petrie hasn't even been used on the second power play currently. We're not entirely sure why, but. It might be they need to trade defensemen, and I don't know if they're trying to showcase guys on the second power play that aren't him. So maybe something else needs to be done. I don't think so. They're going to be getting. I don't think they're going to be getting anything if they trade P.O. Joseph and maybe acquire something, that would be great. But they're going to be trading defensemen and getting nothing in return. So they're not going to improve by trading these D-men, but obviously they can't go into the season with 9 defensemen on the roster. Just can't happen.
All right. Shorts, anything before we go to your favorite team?
I mean, Pittsburgh's always going to be a top team in the division. As long as they have the core that they have, and I just hope they continue to have some struggles against the Devils, which they tend to do for some reason.
I know.
I'll take
That's
it.
why I don't go to games.
I'll take that.
Absolute craziness from Esteban over here, not going to his own games.
And that's the end of the show, right? Rate our beers and
that's
go.
the end of the show.
I think we covered all the teams. So my beer was a 3, 3.75.
Mine.
Shorts guy and I gotta go. We gotta go. We got tickets that we're trying to get.
Hey, listen, I actually have a fantasy draft in 8 minutes, so I'm gonna make this real quick.
Let's do it.
Fantasy hockey draft. So that's why I just asked if Petrie was gonna be the number
4.0.
1. I'm trying to get the defenseman. New York Rangers. Listen, they beat Steve's team. They beat the Carolina Hurricanes, number 1 team in the division. I don't care. They still beat Steve's team. They did lose to Schwimm's team, Eastern Conference Finals. Schwimm, you still lost, so you should take that banner down. Vincent Trocheck, Jarl Halak. They get rid of Tyler Mott, Andrew Kopp, Frank Vetrano, Ryan Strome, Niels Lundqvist. They trade for a first-round pick. Very good trade. Listen, they arrived a year early. I know that. Ever since the letter in 2018, they've been taking a long-term approach with the rebuild. I know, Shorts guy. I can't even look at the screen.
Don't look at it.
Listen, they announced the rebuild, immediately advanced to the conference final, gave back-to-back champs a real run.
Oh, nice.
They're not a normal rebuilding team. They have a very good veteran core, led by Mika and Kreider and Panarin, but they still have the future core: Keandre Miller, Adam Fox, Alexis Lafreniere, even Cabo Caco. It's not all rosy. I know that this team has major holes. They flash atop the lineup, but they have depth issues. At the deadline, they tried to get that, and it did work for them for a little bit, but it's kind of gone undone with their cap issues. High draft picks, selections are great on paper, but they need to do more. We need to see more from Lafreniere, even though he had 19 goals in the regular season and 5-on-5, which is second on the team. They're 25th in shot attempts on 5-on-5, 24th in expected goals for percentage, which was offset by the number 2 ranked save percentage, thanks to MVP finalist Igor Shesterkin and Vezina winner. Shesterkin could do it all again, and it's every reason to believe he's the goalie that could do that, like Vasilevsky. But for a true contender, they need to get these other things figured out, right? And they have some guys that you hope can take the next steps, and I'm looking squarely at guys like Lafreniere, Capo Caco. You need Zibanejad to take even more of a step, even though he's continually over a point per game the last 3 or 4 seasons. Panarin in the playoffs kind of faltered, and that hurt them a lot too. You hope that Vincent Trocheck can take another step where Ryan Strome could not. Vitaly Kravtsov comes over from Russia after being a huge bitch, so we'll see if he's can do better. Philip Hedl needs to become a solid 2 to 3 center. Sammy Blaze back from whatever injury he had. Ryan Carpenter's Ryan Reeves can punch faces. Ryan Lindgren's a very
nobody
good.
Wants to fight him.
Yeah, Ryan Lindgren's a solid, second defenseman on that top line because Adam Fox is so good. That second defensive pairing, Trouba, now he's the captain. He needs to take a step up. He needs to really play a lot better than he did last year, even though he had almost had 40 points, which when I saw that, I was kind of, I didn't remember and didn't realize that. Keandre Miller, I think, is, and we said this before, I sent the text to you guys saying that he could get more Norris Trophy votes than Adam Fox. I didn't mean that as Adam Fox gets hurt. I think that Keandre Miller can really take that step forward and be a top defenseman. He's got all the intangibles and the tools and the talent to do it. It's just, let's see if he can put it together. The kid's only played defense for like 6 years. Lieber Hayek's god awful. Schwimm bent us over the tub on that one. Braden Schneider was a very good, solid defenseman, number 5. And then the goaltender is all world I think he's the number one goaltender in the league. I know Vasi's there, but just pure stats and just ridiculousness. It's Igor. Jarl Halak's a solid backup. If he can do what he does to the Rangers every time he plays an MSG, they'll do well. I think they win a playoff series, and I don't know that they make it past the second one. I'm not unless their guys take major steps, and that they need Kakko and Hedl and Lafreniere to not just be the kid line. They need to be an adult line, and then they need to really step up.
Yeah, you can't have. There's no way Shesterkin winning 75% of the games you won last season single-handedly it's not gonna hold up over the course of his career. I'm not a fan of your subtractions, to be completely honest. I think a lot of them hurt more than most think, because most of the guys who left had tremendous chemistry immediately and then continued through the playoffs. So I think you probably could have kept Vetrano for cheaper than what he signed over in Anaheim. But
Tyler Mott, same thing.
And he played really well. Yeah, and Tyler Mott, who knows if they even offered him anything? I get their cap strapped, and it's tough. And Trocheck was who you were going after, and Trocheck will help. I don't know. Like you said, you need all these guys to step up, but if they don't, I could see you guys struggling a little bit. To be completely honest, if things don't go the way that they did, like if Shesterkin is human, right? If he's just very good and not, out of this otherworldly like he was last season, even if he's very good and the guys that you're saying need to step up to another level and they don't, I can see a struggle. No, obviously, you're not going to be floating down the bottom, but I don't think you're going to be you're going to be floating somewhere in that 3-4 spot. Maybe streak here and there. But yeah, you kind of need stuff to kind of come together. You need Gallant to really get this cohesion between the team to figure out what lines who's playing where, and who belongs in what position and on top six, bottom six, what have you. That's another TBD. I think they maybe a little bit last year because they went a little farther than anybody expected, and it's only. I mean, it's a common story for that to happen and then taking a step back the next year. So I wouldn't be too surprised, but I mean, the pieces are there. It just needs to come together.
Yeah, they're definitely a playoff team, and they're the only team in the last 3 years to have 2 MVP candidates, a Norris Trophy winner, and a Vezina winner. They're the only team. They have the upper end talent. They just need the rest to start coming.
They need the rest. Yep.
All right, Shrim.
Is it time to go? Can we leave?
Yep, time to go.
I don't want to talk about
Say something nice about my team. I talked nice about your team.
Not. No, you didn't.
I did too. I said they're going to be.
I said they could
be number 1 or 2 in the division.
Oh, thanks. The Rangers could be top 3 in the division.
And
thanks.
Cup contender. All right, fine. Shorts guy saw something bad.
The Rangers suck.
There you go.
And truth be told, if they don't do anything this year, Gallant's out halfway through next season. This is your last chance with him this season.
Yep. 3 and done.
That's okay.
So
I think that's okay because I don't think Gallant is that good, to be completely honest with you. So
3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Don't let him linger.
Thank you for those words of wisdom. 4.25. Pretty good beer.
Mine's a 3.75 because I needed a spoon to finish the bottom of it.
4-0, boys.
Shorts.
Unfortunately, mine's only a 3.25. It's not as good as last year, but I'm buying another 4-pack this weekend, and hopefully it's better.
Nice.
All right, Shrim, you got 1 or 2 real quick?
Hi. You want to do 1 real quick? Let's do 1.
Yeah.
Let's see if you guys can guess it. We're going to do name that goalie.
Name that goalie.
Okay.
Now, hopefully it shows because this would be a really bad thing.
Hold on, I got to get the light.
I cannot see shite. Oh, is that Hobby Boolin?
That's
Is that Tabaracci?
No,
it's Mike Smith.
Yeah.
Mike Smith.
Team loses. You guys win.
This was a terrible game. You guys suck.
No, you gotta